machine set up. The install was pretty easy. The only mistake I kind of made was the main tower. It weighs probably, I don't know, 120 pounds or whatever. I put on before I took it off the pallet, and so it kind of made it hard. I don't know if I said this before. I'm coming from a Coat 7060 EX, so it had a assist arm. The thing I like about this one is there are rubber feet, so I could put it on my epoxy floor without drilling it, without scratching it up. The coats was just a metal on metal, and it would scratch it, so I did it on wood. Anyway, another cool thing about this one over the coats, there's no nut on the other side. They're tap threads or welded nuts on the back side. So all I had to do is put it up there, and literally my kids handed me the bolts, and I threaded them in there. The coats on some of the parts had Zerk fittings. This one did not, so I greased them. But then again, the coats didn't have them on all the fittings. The arms don't feel as heavy duty as the coats, but honestly, they're probably okay. I think the coats was way overkill, and they seem to swing nicely, and there's really no play. The air's off, so these only work a little bit, but anyway, this one I like. It actually has much further of a reach on the coat, so when I did a tire a few minutes ago, I was able to lift it up to get it off, and it worked fine. The other bar over here, at first this bar did not move at all, and I found that this little nut was just way too tight, and you can kind of use this to adjust the tension. I had a nylon head on my coats, and it would bend and still touch the rims. This one, I placed it, I don't know, 2 or 3 millimeters away, and it never touched the wheels. And I just did these 18-inch wheels on my Mercedes with them, and it never touched the wheels. I guess if it does, you have little guards here and here. Another cool function, the coats was a big handle you pull over. This one, you push this little button, and it locks it in place pneumatically, which I thought was kind of cool. This arm did come in handy. I think it helped. So you adjust this one on top of the tire, and it would hold it down when it was going on to help the bead get underneath the lip. It's also pneumatically attached to. You push that button and it comes undone. A couple other cool features. It does have a digital gauge. I thought that was a pretty cool add-on. Okay, I'm going to give my, I guess I've had it about 3 weeks now on the XINKONG, which is kind of like the Mayflower 988 model. And I've done probably, I don't know, a dozen set of tires now. And from everything from, I just broke the bead on these. They're H1 wheels, so I can't really use the tire machine on them. But I used it to break the bead, broke it fine. And now I'm swapping over tires from one set of rims to the other set of rims. Previously I had done these tires, and I really struggled with the bead breaker getting the rubber off there. It was almost like they were stuck on there. I'm not sure if that's the machine's fault or the tire's fault. What was happening though, is if you can look at this, it has this plastic cover on here, and underneath is a straight metal piece. And it's got some really sharp angles, so that's why they give you this. As you can see, this is plastic, and these are starting to bend. And I guess my criticism of it is, if you look at the angle of how it goes on there, it kind of makes all its contact here and here, and not so much in the middle. While I used to have a coats, and it seemed to evenly press on it the whole time. And I like it with the guard because it gives a little forgiveness if you mess up here. But either way, I struggled with those, and I've had almost no issues with these, so it might be the tires, but either way I think that shape could be a little bit more ideal. Now I've already kind of broken this one a little bit, and I'll break it again. I'm scared to kind of do these one-handed, but basically you want to have the tire pushed up against the rubber. You want to get it close to the rim without actually touching it, and don't ever have it up here. You always want to have it right up against the tire, and you can angle it correctly. Push the pedal, and there's enough pedal that there's a dead spot in the middle where you can actually pause it, which I do like a lot. Yeah. Scoots it nice and away. That's the other thing, is sometimes it grabs it. You gotta shove it back on there. So now we're gonna turn this guy around. The pad here it's rubber, it's not plastic, but I still, when I'm using nice rims that have a the offset really close, or the wheel face really close, I'll still put a towel over that just to protect the front of the rim. Alright, so once again you want to position it close, but not too close. It is kind of tricky, especially one-handed holding a phone. I'm gonna go ahead and pause it so I can do this. I need two hands. Okay, so now I got it off. You kind of have to work your way around, and it's hard to show exactly, but you can kind of see just on this that it doesn't push, and you're pushing with the really squishy parts that tend to bend on the ends. And so it's doable, it just doesn't seem ideal. Alright, so now we're gonna put it on here. For rims like this, I do like to mount on the inside. The only criticism I have about these is they're plastic, so you don't get scratched, but they don't seem to have enough grip. And I was struggling earlier with even it clamped on the wheel. It tended to, on the hardest parts, like right at the very beginning and end, it would slip. And so I'd actually have to grab the spokes and pull it. So what I've done is on nice wheels like this, I like to mount them on the inside. So if I'm not in a hurry or doing nice wheels, I'll actually literally sit down here. So you can push it against those back ones like that. I actually use my hand if I'm doing something slow. And you can crank it down. You can actually make it go very slow. So now we're clamped on the inside there. A lot of things are pneumatic. These two pieces click together and they don't come apart. They're pneumatically released when you hit a handle. This thing is pneumatic, so if you want it to come down, you push it, push the button, it's locked in place. It comes up just by holding it, which is actually kind of cool. So we're going to position it right about, I like to do it right about there. Sometimes you can't get the pry bar in here, and so I'll actually let it go closer there, but then when I'm about to do the tires, I'll crank it back out here because I know it's got just enough deflection in the machine to squish it up against your wheel, and you don't want it to touch at all. This is another cool trick just to get it started. You can push this down, and it's got a little, so push it down, and it will kind of get you started in the right direction at least. So now the whole tire is kind of a little bit more pliable and it's down. Okay, we're gonna alright, so now I gotta use two hands, so I'm gonna pause. So the pry bar actually has a cool little shape to it. You get it in there and it actually makes it quite a bit better than the straight ones to pull out on top. Now I just usually set a towel here just because it will come off that duck head and snap against the wheel sometimes. This one's actually been pretty good, but you can actually get it up there. Now I've even been able to pull it out without even having to move the machine. So I did click the machine just one time, and as you can see, it's now fully on the duck head and this thing just slides out. I forgot to tell you, one thing I also normally do is on low profiles, even getting the tires off, I'll lube the whole thing. I actually forgot to do that, so you need to go back and do that. But you want as much lube as you can on there, off and on with low profiles. You're going to want to make sure that all the way around that this is in the groove, and you can use the helper arm to get you there if you need to. And I was confused with this before, looking at the pictures. Once I got it, it makes a lot more sense. This thing can come off. It's just a triangle to push the sidewall down, and with it off you can actually put it on the tire. This part pushes the tire down, that part stops on the rim. I'll obviously put a towel there just so it doesn't touch the rim at all. Okay, I wanted to show that. See, even though we set it up farther away, it actually isn't as close as I thought, but if you get in there, you can see that the pad's not touching, the metal's not touching all the way around, so it's not going to touch our rim at all. You're still going to have the tire rubbing up against the rim. That's another reason why you might want to lube the outside of here. But we'll see if it goes or it slips. does. It never touched the rim the entire time. Now just to go into more detail of what you can do, to get the pry bar on the second half of the tire, there's not a lot of room. What you can do with your hand. I'm just going to show you I can do it with a machine. You take this, you can lift up the tire, which gives you plenty of room to reach the pry bar down in there. And see how I can see the shape on that? Come down here, and I can grab the inside of it. Then you just simply lift up on this side of the tire, pull it over the duck head, and you're good. Off. See what I mean? You can pause it in between, which helps you not have to go all the way out. So now it's set up for when I get the new wheel. New wheel's on there, and clamped. Okay, so what you're going to want to do anytime you have low profiles is just go crazy with this stuff. It's not bad stuff. And I'll even put a little bit on the face. You can always clean it up when you're done. It will protect on any mistakes that are tire marring. The inner bead is actually usually the easiest part. You want to always place it over this part of the duck head, under this part. You can usually just push with your stomach right here. Push the pedal. Just make sure the tire stays at an angle. Just click it down. Getting the next part, you're going to do the same thing. I could actually get this underneath my hands. You do want it to be in the right place here. Alright, well, I'm going to have to use two hands. The cool thing about this is what this thing's good at. So I'll bring this down, touch the tire, and I use a combination of this one and the assist arm over here to keep the tread wall down and pushed against the tire. Alright, so I use two hands for that. So the most important thing is once you get to a look like this, you have to make sure that the tire stays underneath the lip on the rim the whole time. If it's too high, you will put so much pressure on this that you can either break this, jam it into the rim, break the bead on the tire. Any one of those things will happen, or it'll just do this loud pop and everything will pop off. This has to stay below because that's the only way that it fits. So I can actually sit here and push. Now you will have to reset this a couple times. I have this towel just so it doesn't actually touch the rim. See how it came up? If I try to go right now, it would break the head off, actually. Well, I need two hands. Okay, so I've had to move this just once. I'm repositioning it from here to here. This rolls on here. I've pushed on here. And at some point, you can actually tell that it's going to go all the way. And you can just go. You just want to make sure you don't keep jamming on the pedal, and this thing will swing all around until it hits there. So don't do that. See, this is what I mean. Sometimes it slips. So you actually just got to, again, two hands. Sorry, guys. Okay, so in there, I had to actually just grab here and push here, and it went just fine. But I think it's because those cleats are plastic, and so they just kind of slide on a rim. if you're using the other side of them, they have really thick teeth, but they'll leave little scratches here, like 8 little holes, basically is what they do. They jam into the metal. So now all we got to do is just pull it away. Make sure this is clear of your tire when you come up. Alright, and then like I said, that's all just lube that I put on there to make sure it goes. It all will just wipe away. And now you've had a touch-free tire install. I will comment on the bead blaster on this thing. It is, I think I said in one of my other videos that the coats has holes here and little sprayers here. It sprays up. I've seen some that have a giant blower here. This one has this giant vacuum cleaner looking head, and it will blow your eardrums out. And the only complaint I have is these screws hold on the bottom of it. It actually shot these 2 screws across the thing. But I guess the idea is you jam it in there, hit the pedal, and it goes. Actually, it works. I don't really like it. Most of the time you can get it just with the air handle by itself. I actually do like the air blower on this thing. It's a digital gauge, which is really cool, and it seems to have pretty good airflow, and I've had no trouble seating beads with it alone. 680 wheel balancer. And I first calibrated. What I did is I took a trailer tire and I put it on there since it's a 15-inch rim. You have to hold down F for 1.5 seconds. Then you press this. This will say calibrating. Then all you do is you hit start. It spins the tire and it tells you to add a 3.5 ounce weight to the outside. Then it spins it again. Tells you to take this off and put it on the inside. Hit start again. And it says calibration complete. What I did with the actual tire is I marked where it wanted the weights, and then I marked where it wants the weights on the outside, and I spun it. And I think it was like, it wanted like 5 ounces on one side, 1 ounce on the other. And then I undid it, spun the tire around 90 degrees, and redid it on just to make sure that it was consistent. And sure enough, it lined up again with my little paint mark and wanted a bunch of weight. So I spun it up, and that one says it's balanced. So now I'm putting on a this is an 11.5-inch rim with a 295 19 on it. And so the way it's pretty easy. I do it. You pick what kind of rim it is. So I'm going to put sticky weights. Can't do them on the outside, so they're going to be this L2. So that means there's going to be sticky weights on the in front of the spoke. I mean behind the spokes, and on the outside. This one would be a hammer-on weight on the back if I wanted to do that. That'd be hammer on both sides, and then that would be static like a motorcycle wheel. So this wheel went aluminum too. We measured it out. This one's probably really close to its max. So we got there 2.5. So you click this one up to 2.5. The width we put in there is 11.5. And the last one's the diameter. So we're going to a 19-inch wheel. And then I don't think you have to push it to let it go, but I'm sure it's less wear on the motor to give it a pre-spin and hit start. Mine slows down and makes a pretty good buzz when it slows down. So according to this, it's off by 3/4 of an ounce. So on the outside right there, see if that's where the weights. This one's balanced by discount. So it already has one has weight over here. So I might take all the weights off and rebalance this one. And then it wants 3/4 of an ounce on the inside right here. So I'll probably balance it and then get back to it, see how it works.